Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We are here at the bottom of Silver Mountain Bike Park with the brand new 2021 Canyon Sender CFR. That stands for the Canyon Factory Race Team. This is the premier cream of the crop, top of the line Sender, and we've been lucky enough to have this bike now for a few weeks. Have been riding it a ton on the 3 stops we've made so far for the 2nd season of our North American Bike Park Review Tour. Episodes will be coming soon. So now that this bike is out and we can talk about it, we wanted to kind of walk you through some of the features and give you a little bit of insight into how it rides and our experiences on it so far at Tamarack, Schweitzer, and here at Silver Mountain. So again, the CFR is their top of the line, no holds barred race machine. It retails for $69.99. Our size large came in at just over 35 pounds and is equipped with 29-inch wheels front and rear. The large and XL both are 29ers. The medium and small are both a mullet or mixed wheel setup. It is a 29 front and 27.5 rear. If you look at the MX link, you'll see that there are 2 shock mounting positions, one for 29, one for 27.5. That does not mean you can just put a 27.5-inch rear wheel in this bike and swap the shock position and go riding. Well, you can, but you're not gonna get the optimum performance, and it's not something that Canyon suggests you do. That was basically so they could reduce SKU numbers and put the medium and small size bikes out with a different rear triangle, but keep use of the same link and just send the bike shipped out with the shock mounted in a different position. We did hear that Fabian Burrell, one of the testers and developers of this bike, does like running the shock in the 27.5 position with 29-inch wheels because it gives them a little bit more progressivity. But being that we're 165 pounds and not nearly as fast as Fabian Burrell, we've been happy running it in the stock 29-inch position and found that the bike really does a great job of balancing suppleness and sensitivity, as well as big hit capabilities and the added progression over last year and previous model Senders. Speaking of updated suspension, Canyon has done a lot of work on the rear end of this bike and the kinematics. As you can tell, the shock mounting position has changed a little bit, and that was one of the key places that they were able to drop the 600 grams of weight that they did on the Sender by moving the shock mount to the bottom of the down tube, which is an area that's already reinforced and stiff. They were able to drop some weight, get the center of gravity a little bit lower, and make the bike have 60% less pedal kickback, as well as a bit more progressivity and some better support in the mid-stroke. Being that this is a World Cup race bike, the mechanics and Canyon Factory team wanted to really design a bike that would be reliable, it would be predictable, and wouldn't require a lot of maintenance. Again, we've ridden 3 bike parks so far, 2.5 to 3 days at each stop. Right out of the box, we haven't had to tighten a single bolt on this bike. These large, oversized bits of hardware have all stayed tight. Everything's working. We haven't developed any play. And the goal with that was just so privateers could go to a race. They wouldn't have to carry extra parts. They probably don't have extra frames in the back of their truck. So Canyon really wanted a bike you could ride season after season and know that it was ready to ride as soon as you showed up to the track. Keeping in line with the bike's race heritage, adjustability is still a very important factor for Canyon. The bike's geo as a whole has lengthened. It still has a 63-degree head tube angle, but the size large comes with a 485 millimeter reach, and the bike ships with 445 millimeter chainstays. Like the predecessors, you still have adjustability out of the rear end. However, it is now a 10 millimeter increments, so you can flip that chip at the rear dropout and lengthen the chainstays 10 millimeters, and that will kind of give you a little bit more stability, a little more control at speed, get larger riders in a little more balanced position. We've been running it in the factory short position and have been really pleased with it so far. Up front, the bike comes with the headset cups in the centered position. The bike also ships with a plus or minus 8 millimeter adjustment. So if you want to shorten that bike from 485 or lengthen it, you can do so pretty easily by just sliding that fork out, pulling the cups, put the new ones in. Obviously, World Cup tracks have changed. They're a lot faster, they're straighter. It's more about high speeds, big jumps, and the bikes are evolving to meet those demands. The rest of us don't ride World Cups every weekend and are stuck riding some of the same janky old bike park trails that were built in the 90s. So sometimes those 490 millimeter bikes don't work so good on our own local terrain. That's where you may want to consider running a shorter cup up front, or maybe even sizing down if you're on the border. I'm 5'11", and at 485 that reach is a little bit on the long side for my preference. I don't like super long bikes, so as soon as we leave Silver, I'm going to experiment with running it in the shorter offset. I was even tempted to go to a medium but run the +8, and that way I could have a little bit longer of a reach, still have the mullet rear end, and have a bike that would be a little bit more playful, which is something that I really enjoy out of a bike. So when it comes time to ride this bike in the terrain it was truly designed for, it absolutely comes alive. On some of the flatter stuff and some of the other parks like Tamarack, where there were longer traverses or pedals, the bike actually really surprised me. The 35-pound weight, the suspension design, I was really able to sit down and kind of spin and pedal my way across a lot of traverses that when I rounded a corner and saw it, I was dreading. And I was really impressed with actually how quick and well this bike pedaled. It actually also does really well pedaling out of corners if I need to get up to speed real quick. And yeah, it really surprised me there. When you get it onto the steep, chunky, gnarly stuff, it becomes a whole different animal. This bike really wakes up and comes alive when you get it into that World Cup or World Cup wannabe downhill terrain. And it really inspires you to stay off the brakes, just lean back and let the bike eat, and it will handle anything you throw its way. You know, chances are 90% of riders are going to get scared before this bike starts getting overworked, and that's the truth, because this thing is capable and ready to handle it. The spec is top notch, as you'd expect from the CFR. When we pulled this thing out of the box and built it, like, we build a lot of bikes, and this thing, I sat back for 30 minutes and I just, you know, I got the wife out of the house to come look at it and just explain to her that this is the representation of the pinnacle of our sport. And it is an incredible experience. The fine details that you see, like the grip tape down on the crank arms, the little bit of grip here on the shifters, all really kind of make that like pro feel, right? Like when I got on this bike, I felt like I was a factory racer. Like I felt like they custom made this bike and sent it to me, and I was ready to go out and race. So major props for like just that awesome feeling that you get out of building a new bike. I mean, it's always cool, but when you get something that feels like I've got a black box factory bike right here, like this thing is sick. That kind of takes that experience to another level, and that was something that I got when I built this CFR. So in a nutshell, that is the new Canyon Sender CFR. Again, pretty impressed by the bike. Not sure what else we can say. Feel free to ask any questions down below. Stay tuned to see this bike in action at 6 upcoming bike park reviews, as we're going to be making our way around the country. So that is the brand new Canyon Sender CFR. Thank you guys very much for tuning in, and we hope to see you out on the trails.